Since parting ways with the former manager Errol Bullock following the 2-0 defeat to Leeds United on September 21st, Cardiff City have enjoyed a serious upturn in their form under the interim stewardship of Mr. Omar Rhys. He has openly backed his ability to take the coaching role on a permanent basis. The players seem to be playing for him. The football has certainly improved. But let's talk about it. This is your West Brom versus Cardiff City preview. I am Si. Welcome to Cardiff City World. It's good to be back, and just to give myself a little bit of a safety blanket, but also by popular demand, we have added Rhys to the preview this evening, and I'm delighted to have someone to help me out a little bit. Thank you for coming on, mate, first of all, and welcome.
Thank you. Good to be back. I bet the popular demand was just Mam, was it?
Yeah, it was just Matt, mate. He just get Rhys on more so I can do less. That's such a lie. Matthew does flipping everything for me. Bless him. I'm pretty sure he never sees his wife and kids because he's always doing something for me. But there we go. He's a top man. But away we go, mate. The preview shows, as you know from watching them, I'm sure, we'd like to keep them pretty short and sharp, about half hour or so. But we also like to delve into the tactics. As is tradition, we start with the opponents. It's definitely going to be Omar Rhys's biggest challenge to date, I think. Certainly the hardest opponents. But West Brom aren't in the best form, struggling for goals. I know from seeing our predicted lineups, mine and yours are slightly different for West Brom because I think they'll chase goals a bit more. I think they'll make an adaptation to try and get those goals. But let's dig into it first, as I'll bring up your predicted team now, but just talk to us a little bit about how you think they'll play tactically and how they'll try and get at us.
Well, I think they're going to go for the 4-2-3-1, obviously. I see Mowat and Mulumby in the two pivot roles. I think they'll put Mulumby towards our right-hand side to nullify the threat of Ruben, because we know Ruben and Tanner, they link up together, and they're going to try and block that side out, I think. I think they'll look for the overlap with Furlong at the back. I think to be fair, he's a decent right back. He likes to get forward a lot. So I see them trying to use the overlap there. But we've got to watch out. The left-hand side, I think, is where they're strongest for me, if I'm honest with you. Because Hegam is a centre-half playing left-back, so he's not much of a threat going forward. But you got Callum Grant who makes the run some deep. And we know exactly what he's like. We had him on last year. I think with us last year, he played more of a winger rather than inside forward. But Cobran's gone playing as the inside forward. And with Josh Maja, he can drop a bit deeper, pick the ball up. He can let Diagana make the runs. He makes Grant make runs. You got probably Fellows makes runs from deep as well into the box. So they will try and overload our box, I think. I just think they'll try and tighten up their left-hand side, our right-hand side sort of thing. Stop the threat of Tanner and Ruben. Because when you watch Ruben, he sort of drifts towards the right hand, closer to Tanner a lot. And it's the linker plays there. So I think they'll strengthen that side and try and keep them quiet for the game. So I think they'll be harder to break down there. But that's where their attacks will come from, then, with Carl Grant and stuff as well. And without the ball, I see them dropping into sort of a back five. With I think without the ball, they'll drop to back five. Carl Grant becomes sort of the wing back. Hagan will cut inside with the centre half, and then they'll use it they'll keep Fellows as sort of a two-man strike force with Maja. Diagana will stay forward. Mowat will stay further forward. Mulumby will just drop deeper as well. So without the ball, it's that. I think with the ball, though, they do like to try and overload the midfield, I think they will. But they've leaked goals late on in games, and their substitutions have been questionable at best. So I think they're there for the taking.
Yeah, I whilst I do think it's the hardest test he's had on paper, I do think they're there, and there's a few sort of weaknesses in the side. It'll be interesting because I think Ruben drifts over to that right-hand side for a couple of reasons. I think he drifts over to link up with Tanner naturally and Robertson, but also I think it allows El Ghazi to sort of drift in then from the left. I think they will. No, I don't think they'll play Fellows. I think they'll play Ricky Johnson off the right. Because one thing we know with Carlin Grant is he will do the defensive work. So he will be very aware of what Ollie Tanner's capable of what Harry NG can do when he sort of pushes up into that sort of support role as well. And obviously Ruben. So the only difference, so the team which is up on the screen is your predicted West Brom lineup, which is Palmer and then Hegem, McNair, Ajay, Furlong, and then Mowat and Malumbi. I really like both of them. I got to be honest, particularly Mowat. I think he's a real good championship player. Carlin Grant, Diagana, and Fellows. So, like I said, the only difference I've got Ricky Johnson or maybe even Swift might play off the right. But one thing I do like what they do is you mentioned it there. Marja up front will kind of drop in, and then Diagana will kind of run in behind, not necessarily like right in behind to break the lines, but he'll almost become the player who's up against the centre backs, and that can, if you're not organised and you're not well drilled defensively, that sort of movement and rotations can catch you out a little bit. So, Gutas and I would assume it'll be Gutas and Chambers, they'll have to be on their best just to make sure they're following the movement. And look, it's funny, Carlin Grant got a lot of criticism last year from certain parts of the fan base. I actually thought he was quite often our most dangerous winger, certainly. And also, I think, like I mentioned, defensively, he works really hard. So I agree with you. I think they'll try and overload the box, and they'll, particularly with sort of late arrivals, Carlin Grant, we know is going to cut in as well. So it'll be interesting if they do make a change to that 11 from the last game, which is basically, I think, the same as what you've got. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see Swift or Johnston, simply because they haven't scored many goals recently. And when you haven't scored many goals, that's when managers tend to just tweak little things to try and make it happen,
I do think tomorrow, Marja will target Gutas. I think he will get touch tight to Gutas, because if you can drag him out of position, you've got Diagana, he can get past Chambers too easy then. Carlin Grant can get past Chambers, the wide man can get past him. So he will try and drag Gutas out of position, try and get touch tight to him, I think, to pull him out. So then it's just one of them onto Chambers. I think that's easy.
And the thing is as well, mate, is Gutas likes to engage, doesn't he? He does like that. He likes to be touch tight, and he likes to go and try and win the ball. And if you've got a player like Marja who's clever, and they can spin him, or they can just drag him out of position to create room for Grant to drift in there, it can cause you a problem. Do you think there's any chance, just briefly on Cardiff, because we're on West Brom, but do you think there's any chance that we see like Fish or Darland maybe?
I think it's one of those things, right, where if he changes the line, a win inside right now, and we lose, fans might, it looks bad for him, and why would we win inside? If he doesn't, fans are saying you've got a tired side, so it's kind of a lose-lose situation in that regard. I think he sticks with the same side. I think he sticks with the back four the same. It's very settled. I do think our left-hand side will be our most dangerous tomorrow, so I don't think he'll change anything at the back. I do think our right-hand side, you see Ruben drifts over to the right-hand side a bit more. When you've got Grant, Malumbi, I would not heg him as much because he won't get forward. He's like a centre-half playing left back, so he won't get forward as much. I think that will try and stifle our attack on the right-hand side, because Grant can run 90 minutes non-stop up and down. Tanner got 60 minutes in him. He will tire him out. And they will target that, and they will leave a foot on in Ruben. They will get stuck into him, but not proper. And I think that's where they'll be at the most solid defensively, is that side. But on the opposite side, I think they leave themselves wide open, because Fellows doesn't track back a lot to me. He stays further forward. He likes to play that more as like a winger. And when you're looking at Furlong, he likes to get forward, sort of like NG did last year. And he seems to go forward, cuts inside a bit, and leaves massive spaces in behind. And I think that's exploitable. Now, they're missing Kyle Bartley with injury. He's a top centre-half. Paddy McNair's a decent centre-back, but I think we can really take advantage of that situation at the back. I think they'll go to a back three sort of thing when they're on the attack, an overload. And if we can hit them with a bit of pace on our side, we could cause problems.
Yeah, and I think Callum Robinson drifts a little bit, doesn't he? He doesn't always play on the last man. Like, he's got a habit of drifting out to the left, drifting out to the right. He'll drop into the 10. And Paddy McNair, I really rate Paddy McNair, or I certainly did like a couple of years ago. He had a really bad injury, and I don't think he's at the moment been able to find the same level that he was before his injury, which, happens sometimes. Players, it takes some time, doesn't it? But, at the top of his game, he's only 29. He is a really good championship centre-half, and he's difficult. But I agree with you. When teams have got different centre-back pairings, there's always a bit of room for, it doesn't have to be like this big miscommunication where, the keeper bumps into the centre-back and it rolls into the net. It can just be someone not picking up a runner or being dragged out of position. Anything, those small little advantages, they can make a big difference. In just lastly on West Brom, who's the man to watch for you that we should, the Cardiff fans should be looking at and just keeping a close eye on?
See, I think it is Callum Grant from you. With us, he was more of a winger, wide out. Yeah, for us, more out winger he was for us, tracking back a lot. Under Carlos Coburn, he seems to be playing as a deep lying inside forward. So he'll make the late runs into the box. And to be fair, he's hitting form for him right now. And he sort of looks like a second striker coming off the shoulder as well sometimes. Marja,
yeah, I think he's dangerous, mate. I do. I think he's really dangerous.
I think Marja will be the guy that will link others into play. He'll get the ball and he'll bring others into play by taking others out of the game for us. So if we focus on him, you're leaving someone like Callum Grant wide open. So I think for me, Callum Grant, especially on that left side, he's the big threat for them. We know we can get balls in the box. We know we can run non-stop 90 minutes. He will keep Ruben quiet to track him back, and he will try and track back and keep Tana quiet. So I think he will be the big threat for them, for me, Callum Grant will. And it's not just because he's ex-Cardiff. I just think he looks a different player in this formation they've got with Carlos this year.
Yeah, I think he suits because Marja tends to create the space for other people. We didn't have the most mobile of centre forwards last year who ever played. So you didn't have that forward player creating the space for the wingers or the number 10s to attack or to get into. For me, Alex Mowat is, I just think he's a fantastic championship midfielder. So I do think like Grant versus NG will be fascinating because Perry NG seems to have that bit between his teeth at the moment. He seems to have rediscovered a bit of that sort of shithousery, and he's winding people up. He looks happy, and it'll be interesting battle because I think, like you say, that side will be important. And then it opens up the other side for Cardiff, and that's where we do disagree a little bit on the starting lineup. And you are right; it's almost lose-lose because if he starts the same lineup for Cardiff and it goes wrong or we lose the game, people will say, he should have played X, Y, and Z. He should have been a bit more defensive, or he should have, whatever. They're tired. But then if he tries to make like a tactical change because he thinks he needs to be a little bit more solid or a little bit more compact away from home, and we still don't win, he'll then get criticised for changing the team. So the one change I do think he'll make, although when I look at it from an attacking point of view, it makes sense to keep O'Dowda inside. But I do think there's a chance he brings in Bacon, a left back, just to make us that little bit more kind of defensively solid. Because I do think the one thing with O'Dowda, O'Dowda's a winger at the end of the day who's playing in that left back slot. And I do think that it just means it gives you a bit more security. So obviously you've gone with the same 11, which is up on the screen now. Alnwick, O'Dowda, Chambers, Gutas, NG, Turnbull and Robertson, and then Tanner, El Ghazi with Ruben just behind Callum Robinson. So the only changes I could potentially see if everyone's fit, obviously, is I could potentially see Bagan coming in for El Ghazi. For O'Dowda, just for the reasons I just said. And maybe Siopis for Turnbull. Again, just from a defensive point of view, just to make us a little bit more compact, maybe give us a bit more physicality and energy in the middle. I actually think that, and I think most people in the comments are kind of saying like he should keep the same 11. And I would feel, I spent most of my video yesterday talking about David Turnbull, and I've been really impressed with him in that deeper role. It's a bit frustrating because we was, how many times did I say it last year? From more or less from when he signed, I assumed he was going to play alongside Siopis, and it never quite materialized. But I do think he plays better with that pitch in front of him rather than with his back to goal in those little pockets of space. And I think Turnbull would be unlucky, mate, to be not in the starting lineup tomorrow. What do you think about those potential changes that I just mentioned? Could you see, a Bagan or a Siopis potentially coming in?
I wouldn't change O'Dowda for Bagan. I think that's where we're going to be the most deadly tomorrow. I think because Furlong goes forward, he gets left exposed there. He does, and we know with O'Dowda he does the overlap with El Ghazi. It works really well. So you can ask the question to the full back end: do I follow the runner and leave El Ghazi with time and space in the ball, or do I stay with El Ghazi and leave the runner go and hope he doesn't get the ball to the runner? I think that's the side tomorrow where we will be deadlies on the left hand side. I think. The last few games, you see that little link-up play with O'Dowda and El Ghazi, and it overloads that left-hand side, and you're dragging the centre-half out of position and trying to cover over as well, and it's leaving space in the box. So I think that side you're going to be... I think that's the side where we'll see our biggest threat, I think. I would stick with Turnbull. Go on, sorry.
I was just going to say, with O'Dowda at left-back and Tanner and on the right wing, we have all of a sudden remembered that you can cross the ball into the box, and you've seen a lot more opportunities created from balls played across the box or cutbacks, things like that. Even El Ghazi, I think, has been part of that. He quite often gets in behind and then sort of cuts it back to the edge of the box. Whereas under, the previous manager, it did feel at times like we just never crossed the ball into the box. So I do see the logic to it, and I agree with you. I think that our left, their right, is an area where we can get at them. I'm just looking at it and thinking, if I'm him, if I'm Omar Risa and I'm going into this West Brom game, they're definitely, the toughest opponents he's come up against. It's whether he's going to go with it and trust it. And maybe, I'm not saying he should make those changes. Part of me thinks, he should trust himself. He's got this team playing well, but it's not just that we've scored a load of goals. We've also kept 3 clean sheets in 4. So, I know Bagan played against, who was in Millwall. Do you think he played against Bristol as well, off the top of my head? So it's been, 2 games with Bagan, 2 games with O'Dowda in that 4-game period. It's just whether he feels that he needs a bit more security. I think stick with the same teammate, to be honest. I think, why, if it's not broken, don't fix it, Well,
talk about the wingers crossing balls in. I think they've got quite a tall back line. They've got quite a big back line. I think Hagam's 6'3". I think McNair is a big lanky boy. We know Jay's tall. So tomorrow, if we do get the ball wide, we seem to keep trying to pass into the box now and again, or pass it along the front of the box. Tomorrow it might be a case of just drill the ball in the box. Don't whip, don't cross it in, just drill it in the box. You might get deflection. Someone might get on the end of it. You just put them under pressure and give them something to think about. But if you keep drilling the box, you're going to get on the end of something. So I think that will be a key tomorrow as well. I think because they will cover up on Ruben tomorrow, I think that will leave space in behind it for Robertson and Turnbull to get time on the ball. And I think that will be key. West Brom have had a habit the last few games of making subs 70 minutes into the game, putting Wallace, who's a midfielder, up front, putting Swift on the wing. And it's strange because, again, they're playing players up position. I think then you can bring C1 with energy to close down, get stuck in a bit. Bagan can come on in, I think, that's fine. But I just think the left-hand sides are strongest tomorrow, and that's where you're going to exploit But I don't know, because it's funny because I think Mowatt's a great box-to-box man. He's not quite the number 10, a deep line 8, but he's a great box-to-box man. And you've got Malumbi, who's a ball-winning midfielder. I think they'll be more defensively set up tomorrow, allowing the full-backs to go, the full-back to go forward, because Hegem won't bomb on, unless they play Mickey Johnson at left-back. They've done it before. They might and have them bomb forward, leaving space behind. But I just think you've got to stick with Turnbull and Robertson, because what's happening is when one is on the ball, the opposition are scared to either put a man on them because there's space in behind there for Ruben or for the other one, or if they stand off and let them have time on the ball, they're picking passes that none of us are seeing, but they can see. So I think tomorrow, that midfield three, the diamond three, a triangle three, sorry, of Ruben, Robertson and Turnbull, I think it's going to be one of those where either West Brom touch tight to us, and therefore we've got space in behind, or they're going to stand off us a bit and we'll have time on the ball. So I think that three needs to stay, I think, if I'm honest. I just don't know how fit Turnbull is, because he's had one start and then he played on a Tuesday 2 days later, and that's got to take it out of him, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely, mate. He has barely played. And like, even when you look at Alex Robertson's like average heat map over the past 5 games, he is literally covered like every blade of grass. So I don't know whether they've got 90 minutes in him. I think Alex Robertson has been massive for the way Cardiff have improved. He links everything together. He does a lot of the simple stuff really well. But I haven't been disappointed whatsoever. Like, once he got in the side, he's really gone on and pushed on. And yeah, maybe we see Turnbull for an hour or so, and then I just hope he doesn't. I mentioned it yesterday in my video. One of my pet hates at the moment with modern football is this thing that you hit like an hour or 70 minutes, and then they make 3-4 subs or whatever over that sort of 10-minute period, as if you've got to give everyone a game sort of thing. Whereas I felt for Cardiff, like on Tuesday, I really felt like take Turnbull off because he was looking a bit leggy, but I thought Robertson was doing all right. So I thought put Siopis on for Turnbull, take Al Ghazi off because he's still finding his fitness. But apart from that, I didn't see that. I thought taking both central midfielders off and both wingers, we never had the same control of the game after that. And I would like to see him be a little bit cleverer with his subs, maybe. I said the same. I said the same. Fine enough. It usually takes about 5-10 minutes for a sub to get into the game. I thought taking both Turnbull and Robertson off, just give them a bit of a life again. And it took a bit of control out of the middle for us. I thought take Turnbull off 65 minutes and El Ghazi maybe, put our CEO on, give him 5-10 minutes in the middle, then take Robertson off so he's up to pace of the game, giving time for Newport to get up to pace of the game. So you're not just dismantling that middle two straight away. It is a tricky one because, again, you don't know how much they've got. But I've been saying for a while now, I think Robertson reminds me so much of Steve McPhail. He just drops deep, picks it up off the back four. You can't get the ball off him. On that turn, he's got this stuck to it. He's glued to him. And then he can see everything ahead of him. He's got vision, which is one thing you can't teach vision. But then not only that, he's got the ability to make the pass. And it's not just a simple forward pass. It's a pass that takes 2 or 3 players out of the game for them. And I think another big good model. Just on that, sorry to interrupt you. Just on that, mate. The last three. If you look at Ruben's positioning on his heat maps and stuff over the last 3 games, or maybe even the 4 games, but certainly the last 3, he's a lot more where you want him to be, like in behind and in those little pockets of space, maybe a bit wide, like proper drifting around. Whereas so many times last year, particularly, by the second half or by the hour mark, he'd be taken off the centre half because we never had someone in that midfield who could do those line breaking passes and take like a couple of players out of the play. So often, we'd find those pockets, the ball wouldn't come, so he'd come a bit deeper, the ball wouldn't come, and then, like I said, he'd be taken off the centre half. And I think, Robertson, but I also think Turnbull has had a big say in that in the last couple of games, because I think Turnbull's very technically good as well. My one worry is with the two of them, is neither of them is really an out and out like defensive midfielder, and I just worry against some of the really sort of top teams in the Championship whether that pairing might get exposed defensively. I don't know though, because Robertson's quite clever in his positioning, and I think he's capable of being, like a number 6, if you like, and being the sort of the more defensive of the two. But I think if you ask him to be a 6, for instance, say when we play, I don't know, off the top of my head, say when we play Leeds next time, right? If you said to Robertson, right, we want to keep you two together, so Alex, we want you to play as a 6. Do you lose then those line breaking passes and those kind of all the things that he does really well, because he's so press resistant that it's like he rarely gives the ball away. That's my only concern, and that's one of the only kind of reasons why in my mind I'm like, is it a game to put Siopis in there alongside him? I don't know.
I definitely agree with CEO brings a lot of energy to the middle. I think he's been tired lately, so I think he needed a rest. I agree with he'd have to go a bit defensive and play something like Leeds or something. I think West Brom have always been one of those teams where they never really looked that good, but they've always grinded results out. So it's one of those, I think, if you can exploit that, I think you're okay. The thing with Ruben, though, is what tends to happen is Robertson gets the ball, he'll make one pass, it takes out their middle two. They set the half end, sees Ruben on the ball, he goes touch tight to him. All of a sudden, Ruben's a little flick on left or right. The defender's out of position. You got Tana running into space, and you got Ruben running into space. I think, especially when you got a player like tomorrow, if you mark up Ruben and you got Callum Robinson dropping deep to get the ball, all of a sudden, then you've got someone with space and time on the ball again, and you've got a runner like El Ghazi on one wing going further forward. So I think tomorrow is going to be a case of Ruben won't have as much impact as he has been having tomorrow, I don't think. And it's not because he will have a bad game. I just think they will do everything they can to mark him out of the game. They'll just stick someone on him and they'll stick with him. But what that will do is free up someone else, I think. So I don't think we have to worry too much about Ruben. But I agree he's been further forward. He's been hugging the touchline, so to speak, the halfway line. Previously, when we were on the defensive, he was dropping a lot deeper, picking the ball up way too deep. There was no one ahead of him to get the ball to. But now he's the man they look forward to and see him on the halfway line ready to receive the ball. So I think that'll be key. But I don't know. I think CEO should come on about 60, 65 minutes if his tired legs, a bit of energy to close them down, nullify their threats. But then it's just one of those where we could go 3-0 up in the first 20 minutes. And then all of a sudden they could crumble, or we could have nothing for 90 minutes and nick a goal. You just got to keep that threat of Turnbull and Robson, I think, because playing one without the other, they'll do okay. But I think together they just complement each other so well. I mean, I don't think Turnbull works alongside CEO for me. Turnbull works well with Robertson because one on the ball means you can't close him. If you close him down, you've left space on the other one. And I just think them two complement each other so well as both deep lying playmakers sort of thing as well. It's just they just suit each other. So I would stick with them, I think.
Yeah, I tend to agree, mate. Like I say, the only change I've got is Bagan, and that's even that I'm not like really sold on. It's just more of a what I think he might do. But it's interesting because we're going to talk about who we think is going to be the danger man for Cardiff in a minute. And so often, and with the form he's in, I would usually say Ruben, but I'm actually going for someone completely different this week because of that. But what I will say is I'm trying to find the comment now. I can't find it. Someone just said anyway in the comments that what Cardiff should do tomorrow is the one thing we haven't done away from home for probably 18 months, 2 years, is not let West Brom settle. Because I agree with you. I really feel like they are there for the taking. They're not in the best form. They're not scoring goals. If you can, against teams which aren't scoring goals, if you can get an early goal, it puts so much pressure on them because they know they're not scoring lots of goals. So if you get one, they've got to score 2 to win the game. And it's so much pressure. And then that's when you get mistakes with decision making and things like that. So, yeah, it's going to be a fascinating game, mate, to watch. In terms of your man to watch, Go on, you give yours first. Who you think who you think the danger man, or who you think's important man for Cardiff tomorrow, and then I'll give mine.
This is going to be a bit of a wild one. I think it's Callum O'Dowda for me. I don't think it's necessarily because he'll get the assist or he'll get the goal. I just think it's the way we play on the left-hand side. He will drag Furlong out of position, or he will be free on the overlap, but he will get the ball in the box. And I think we will overload that left-hand side and cause them enough issues that they might have to shuffle the pack up a bit. And then that might then free up Ruben, because they might think, right, we can't get touched like Ruben for 90 minutes because look what's happening over there. I think for me, O'Dowda tomorrow, especially on our overlap, we work so well with it, because what tends to happen is, like I said, the fullback either sees him going on the overlap and he'll track it back. El Ghazi then has time on the ball and space. He can either whip the ball in, or he can play it across to Robinson, Ruben. They'll create chances, but it'll give him time on the ball. But if they do get such like to El Ghazi, it'll just free up that space in the overlap then for him to exploit. So I think for tomorrow, for me, O'Dowda is the key man for me tomorrow. I think Ruben will have a quieter game because he'll be marked out today. Not because he'll have a bad game. I think he'll still be good, but I just think they'll keep him quiet. I think Gutas, for me, has to have a good game. He has to be smart tomorrow. Don't get dragged out of position to try and bully Marja, because they will exploit the space behind him when no one is up against Chambers. So if you are going to get touch tight to him, make sure it's for a header, not because the ball's to his feet. If he does a turn, then get in the block, but don't try and go through the back of him, because Dean Garner will be right in front of him, get the ball, 1-2, and he's through. So I think, but for me, O'Dowda is the key man tomorrow.
No, I agree. I agree with everything you just said, mate. The only difference for me is I've got my key man is El Ghazi, because I think there's been signs in the last few games that he's just starting to find his feet a bit. I think he struggled initially with the pace of it, and just he was not fit. Obviously, he's still not match fit completely. He's only probably got about an hour in him. But I've just seen signs where he's getting in behind. He's getting the fullback one-on-one, or he's getting in that little pocket between the sort of right-sided centre-back and the right-back, and he's just slipping in that little space. And I think, I agree with you, I think they'll target Ruben Colwell. Carlos Coveran is very detail-orientated. So they will, they'll know all the stats. So they will look at, like, for instance, the fact that Alex Robertson does not give the ball away. They'll look at the fact that Ruben Colwell's been involved in every single goal that Cardiff have scored in the last 4 games. They will look at Perry NG kind of slightly inverts but doesn't. And, they'll look at all the details. And I think if O'Dowda is the left back and Ruben is kind of marked tight, there's just that little space for El Ghazi to exploit. And we know once he's up to full fitness, we know that at this level of football, he can be unplayable on his day. It's just getting him up to speed, because I still think he's not quite there. But I've seen signs in the last couple of games. I also think the goal helped him. You could see that was a big relief for him, because he'd had a couple of really big chances, hadn't he? He had that one. Was it the Bristol game where he really, you couldn't work out how he had missed it, really?
And Portsmouth, I think, 1-on-1. Is it Portsmouth 1-on-1?
Yeah,
I just think he overthinks it. The final third, just overthinks things. I think that's just something that's rustiness. That's just rustiness. The more he's playing week in, week out, the more it'll just come naturally. And like the best players, it just comes naturally to him. Again, it's hard to have such a long time out of the game, be expected to show up at such a high level. The championship's not a walk in the park. Like it's a tough league. I mean, the physical demands, the mental demands. It's
a lot's expected of him as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
Like everyone's expecting him to be trapped and just be like this absolute baller all the time, and it just takes a bit of time, mate, to get going. I think his link up with Robinson and Colwell has been quite good, though. Like little triangles and little rotations has been good. But that's Robinson is a danger man. Go on.
Robinson's a different kind of player for us right now. He plays a sort of a false 9. Also number 9. It's hard to describe him because he drops deep to get the ball, and then he feeds others the ball, but he finds a pocket of space for it. But then all of a sudden, you see the goal he scored against Pompey. That's a portrait finish. He reads where the ball's going to be. You can see the defender's not going to make it, not be quick enough. He peels off the back of the defender and gets the foot on the ball. That's a real poacher's effort, that is. And he's due with 2 or 3 goals in the game soon because the chances he's getting, and I'm not being funny, but if it wasn't for some top saves, he'd have had 2 or 3 more on his goal scoring record this season. But he looks like a player fleet with confidence as well.
Mate, his XG for the season is 1.93, which is mad. That's so high, mate. But like at the moment, he's scoring at about once every 120 minutes. But I think the chances he's getting are much more, like they're bigger chances than that. He's been unlucky with some real good saves.
Yeah.
And I agree with you, mate. One of my, like, not even a criticism really, but like, because I think what he does is quite clever. But like, I'm going to go back to the bloody heat map. But when you look at his heat map, for me, I would just like to see him be a little bit further forward. So quite often, when we're out of possession and we press, it's actually Ruben which goes and hunts the ball down, and Callum Robertson sort of fills in the space behind him. But then when in possession, like you said, he kind of plays almost like a false 9 sometimes, so he'll drop in. But I think we've got that covered with Ruben, and you've got El Ghazi who drifts in those sorts of spaces as well. And then, Robertson or Turnbull will be pushing up as well. So I'd like to see him play a little bit further forward. It's not a criticism, mate, because I think he's doing a wicked job. And I'm so happy that after everything which went on last year, and look, it happened. It is what it is. It happened. But like, I'm so happy that he was able to turn around, because you don't see it very often where it gets to the point that it was at last year. I think I might have even said on a show in about like a month or 2 before the season had even finished that I didn't expect to see him in a Cardiff shirt again. And obviously pre-season came. He obviously had a conversation before that with Errol Bullock, and you cannot fault his attitude, his work rate, just everything which he's done since has been top notch. And I think if he stays fit for the season, I can see him getting about 15 goals. Like he seems to just be in that routine of just being a regular goal scorer, and it's so important when you're a striker to have that routine.
I think we've seen in his Portsmouth as well. He dropped quite deep to pick the ball up on one occasion, and all of a sudden the centre back came towards him. He turned the defender and played a lovely through ball to El Ghazi. He took out the defender and they full back at the same with one pass, just by going deep and letting El Ghazi go further forward, and that throws off a defence as well, because that's a striker. I'm told to man mark him. I'm following him. He's dropped so deep now. There's space behind me. Do I leave him? But if I leave him, he has time on the ball, or do I follow him and leave space in behind? And it's that. I think that
just about Marja, mate. You know what we were saying about Marja? Like, if Robinson is going to drop deep, like he does sometimes, you need El Ghazi and Tanner to run beyond him, or even or Ruben. But like, what you can't have is like what you had in the Euros or the World Cup or whatever it was in the summer with England, where you had like Foden and Kane, and all of them wanted to be in the number 10 position. So you don't want to have too many bodies in there. I actually agree with you. I forgot about the El Ghazi one. And I think, look, it's not a criticism of Robinson. I just think he's so dangerous. And I think we work so much better with a mobile striker, mate. Every time we put Mate or Kanga up front, the second they're up front, we go more direct and we give the ball away really easily. Whereas when we got Robinson up front, it's all about triangles, 1-2s, balls, in that is passes, rather than just play it up to Mate, play it up to Kanga, and then play off him. But
I think Kanga's a poor Uche. Remember Uche from a few years ago? He was brought on at the end of the game to see it out. He gave the ball at his feet. You couldn't take it off him. You couldn't even knock him down. He was just a big lad. It was glued to him, and he got a goal to. Kanga looks too easy to defend against, because he'll make a random sprint out wide, try and get the ball, and all of a sudden he'll slowly go back to the middle where he should have been in the first place. So when the ball comes forward, he's not even there where he should be. So then he's running to get back to the position. Then he's like, he's just so poor. But I think a big key player for us tomorrow again is also, it'll be Alan Wick. On Tuesday night, a lot of our attacks started from his distribution. some of the passing he was doing, it was absolutely fantastic. See, he was taking out the midfield and the front line for them. He was hitting the players on the spot. All of a sudden, with him behind, I just think he'll be key tomorrow as well, and he'll have to be on top form to organise that defence tomorrow to make sure they're all knowing the roles and stuff and doing the job, because he'll see things that's worrying him. The defenders may not see, so it'll be a big game for him tomorrow, a big test, especially as captain as well.
Absolutely, mate. Just before I get your prediction, I want to it's slightly non-preview related, but do you know what I find really exciting about this team is Cardiff are playing really well. We've got the players which have been on the bench the last couple of games are who they are. We've still got Simic out on loan. We've got Isaac Davis, who's nearly back. We've still got Will Fish and Darland to come in, who arguably could end up being our centre-back pairing for the next 5 years or so, depending on what your opinion is. So we're really strong at the moment, and like everyone is, generally saying it should be keep the same 11. But we've got players coming back. Like Isaac Davis is one which interests me, because if Robinson does go a bit quiet in this team, the way they're playing now, I think Isaac Davis can flourish as a number 9. Whereas the way we played last season, if you put Isaac Davis up front, he'd have struggled. But because, like the reasons I just said with the target men, like I just think having a mobile striker who runs in behind and links up play is good. And I think Isaac can do that in the same vein, really, as Robinson. Are you excited to see some of these players? And that's not even talking about, your Raheem Contes and your K Pacquiao's and these types of people. Joel Colwell.
First of all, I think our bench, our bench looks defensively solid. I mean, Rinamorth does a good sort of player, see the game out, closing down. CEO's defensive minded.
Utility player, and he Rinamorth as well. Like,
there's some good defenders on bench. I think Fish might go to loan. I think Darland's ahead of him, if I'm honest. From what we've seen so far, he looks a cut above anyone else. It reminds me of John Stones, where he can get the ball, bring it into midfield, play it on, and then sort of do a defensive midfielder role at the same time. I think he's ahead of Fish. I think Fish will need game time to develop, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him go on loan. I think we lack in some attack. We do lack attackers on the bench. I mean, Robertson comes off now 60 minutes, for example, tomorrow, for let's say. You're bringing on Matty or you're bringing on Kanga. They're both just too easy to defend against. I just don't see it. I think I'd rather Reindorf come on, someone who's been unpredictable, someone who will run. Isaac Davis comes back. I don't see him playing as a striker, if I'm honest. I see him in the first few games come on as a sub for Tana. And rather than sitting out the winger, he will become the inside forward. I think his pace over the back line, I think especially with Ruben and the 1-2 balls and stuff, I think he will be deadly running through there, because he'll have a burst of pace as long as that injury hasn't taken out of him. I'm worried though, because again, we got Ateti coming back as well. And at the minute, if Robertson's out, you're looking at Ateti or Kanga or Matey as our strikers. I'm not being funny, that won't get you promoted up to League One. I want them 3 wouldn't. So that's my worry there. I just don't see either of them 3 stepping up and doing the job.
Yeah. Like, I know you're not a fan of Tete, mate, but I would be interested to see how he does in this Cardiff side, playing like they are, creating the chances that we are. I'd be interested to see how Tete does in this system with these players compared to what we've seen previously, because I think he showed in very small glimpses that technically he's very good. So it's just whether he's able to to take that on, to be the player. Because, you speak to people at the club and stuff like that, he's pretty highly rated, but I don't think we've seen anything which would make me think that I'm excited to have him back. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm not excited to have him back. So
it's his attitude for me. Like, you see it, the ball doesn't come to him quick enough, or the right pass doesn't come to him, or the ref decision doesn't go his way, and he's all of a sudden on the floor, throwing his arms up, head down, walking around there. He's not making the runs. I'd send him out to loan for more. So I'd call Simic back, because he's not playing for Cardiff. Send Ateti out there on loan. And I'll be fine. If Isaac Davis can do what he did over a year on loan up there, go up 6 months up there, see what you can do. You're playing professional players, mate. These are good standard players in the Belgium League. Come back, show us that you're a championship player. So I'm pretty sure he's out of contract in the summer. And as it stands, I don't think he's done it to deserve a new deal. I mean, he's not shown nothing for me. I just think I don't know. I just don't see it yet. I mean, maybe the club are looking, look, let's cut the costs. Let's just get rid of him and bring someone else in. I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, for me personally, I see Rindolph as a much better looking player than him right now. I think Rindolph works hard. We've seen him against Southampton in the cup. Against Southampton in the cup, there was a period of 5 to 10 minutes where he was pressing for the front. He was just pressing every one of them. And their defence crumbled. They were just kicking the ball for corners, throwaways, just to get away from him because he was giving no breathing space. I think if you're looking at the last 10, 20 minutes of a game, right, Kanga's coming on right now. He can't hold the ball up. That's his only job now, is hold the ball up to see the game out. He can't do that. Why not give Rindolph them 20 minutes and 10 minutes? Let him run the defence rag. Let him run in behind. Let him get the ball. Those 20 minutes, 10 minutes will do more for his development than it would for Kanga for 10 minutes, because it's not doing nothing for him, and we won't benefit because he'll go back to his club in summer or January, whenever he goes back. It'll benefit him. Rindolph's our player. Let's give him the minutes. We were final up against Plymouth. That'll be a perfect time for me to bring on Kipaki out to get some game time, to give Rindolph game time. I mean, they can make a mistake. I'd forgive that. I wouldn't care. He's learning. At least he's showing something as well. So for me, it's for them. I just don't think. I don't see Ateti. I think Ateti's got a loan to prove he's got something about him. I send Kanga back. I demand to see Rindolph on the bench. I mean, what more can he do?
I think it's a weird one because with Rindolph, like people who watch him regularly and people I trust as well, trust their footballing opinion. They do say, they do tell me he's not ready. He got released by Norwich in the summer. Or last year. He's not ready. But like you said, it's and he come back from Dunfermline, was it? And sometimes players work when they go into the first team, and sometimes they just don't. How many times do you see clubs have this player is going to be the next big thing, and then he plays first team football and struggles. So for me, I agree, he's a better option off the bench, I think. And what he does is he will not let. So like in the Bristol game, even in the Portsmouth game the other night, in the Millwall game, when we make our subs, we are handing momentum back to the other team. And what having him up front will do, just constantly pressing, is one, it doesn't let them rest and get back into the game. But two, it creates chances and it drives your teammates on as well. Because, if Ruben's tired or Tanner or whoever's tired and they see him pressing, they're going to go with him. And I just think that's
it also changes how you play as well. So when we got Robertson up top, right, a mobile striker, his ball's passing to feet. When the Kanga comes on, it's we got a target man, build up to him, let him win the ball. You sort of change how you play, how you approach it, and then that just means you're giving the ball away and let them come on you're giving them momentum anyway, the opposition. So they're just recycling the ball, coming back again, losing the ball. We belong to Kanga, who loses the ball. It's one of those. So I think it makes how you play change, and I think that's a big issue for us because, like I said, we had Uche on a few years ago when John Hugel and stuff were there. The way they played it, Uche couldn't get the ball off him. You bring him on for the last 10 minutes, he'd hold the ball up, he'd win the headers, he'd get stuck. At least he was doing that. Kanga doesn't seem he can do that. I just think this league is a bit too quick for him. And again, there's no shame in that. I mean, how many players have come to the British leagues and just struggled to adapt? It's just so quick. So there's no shame in it. I mean, I just think we should cut costs. I don't see Ateti doing the job in this style. For me, I just think we played attacking football under Steve Morrison. We had Mark Hudson, we had Sabri Lamucci trying to play a bit different style of football. He's seen a struggle for all of them. I just think maybe he needs to go out to loan to League One, 6 months, play week in, week out, score 2 or 3 goals, get his confidence up, toughen up, see how he does there. I wouldn't want to risk him as our player right now. I just don't think he does enough for me. I don't think he's earned the right either. I think Rindolph has earned the right, but I'd still be looking for another number 9 in January. I wouldn't look for a target man. I would look for a number 9 because worst case scenario.
I'd terminate Kanga's loan in January. I would, same as what we did last year with what's his head? I've forgotten his name. The
I mean,
one
worst
who
case,
he went to Sheffield Wednesday, didn't he? Oh, what's his name?
Agbo.
Ugbo, yeah, he was awful. But do you know one thing he had was a knack for scoring? Like he would just be in the right place for those rebounds and stuff. But he offered nothing anywhere else on the pitch. Right, West Brom haven't won a game for 5 games. Cardiff City have won 3 of the last 4. 3 clean sheets in the last 4. What is your prediction for the score, mate?
2-1 Cardiff. I think we'll score 2 goals from open play, and they've got quite a big lump, big side they have. So I think they might score 1 from a corner. They'll nick a goal from a corner, I think, late on. But we'll score 2 goals from open play. Dowd will get an assist, and Robertson will get a goal. I don't know who'll score the second goal though.
So I think I'm going to go with 2-0 Cardiff, because I think West Brom will struggle to score unless it's a set piece, like a penalty or free kick or a corner or something like that. As I said, I fancy the way that tactically I expect it to play out. I think our left-hand side could be quite beneficial, so I wouldn't be surprised to see, an El Ghazi or someone like that pop up with a goal. But I'll tell you who's been coming close with their shots the last couple of games is Turnbull. He's had a couple of really good long ranges that the keepers have saved. So hopefully he can, nestle one in the top corner. I'm fairly confident, mate. And it's interesting because at the start of the season, after the transfer window we had, I was really confident that we were going to have a good season. And then that kind of died away very quickly because of a variety of reasons, of course. But
still think we will.
I still think, mate, technically, I know we probably won't because of results. We could go up to 13th if we win tomorrow. Really. Yeah. Like a few more. If we were to be able to put together like 3 or 4 wins now in the next couple, we'll be right up there again, which is it's a mad league, mate. But yeah, I'd like to see the likes of Pacquiao and Reindorf on the bench. I just think
see him.
I think them as options off the bench is more beneficial than some of the other players that we stick with. And I don't want to kind of dig into players because we're everything's positive at the moment. I'm not sure what Kanga offers, and I've been saying for a while, I don't really know what Mate is. Is he a winger? Is he a striker? Because I don't think he's particularly good at either. Most of them,
he's not going to pace to be the wing.
80% of the time he does work hard. 80% of the time.
I appreciate he works hard. He hasn't got the pace or the trickery. I just don't think he's got the ability to be a winger. I don't think he's enough. He's more of an old school target man for me. He's what Kanga should be doing. He will hold the ball up. He will bully defenders. He will make himself present. So it's one of those where if you are going to have to bring Robinson off later on to see the game out, you bring Matey on for him rather than Kanga. I think he does the Kanga job better than him, but he's not a striker for me. He's not. I think that's one area we've lacked for so long and we've never addressed.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I agree. It'll be interesting once Isaac Davis is back, whether we play him centrally, because I know that's where they saw him. Well, that's where they see him long term. Obviously, Kean Ashford's out at the moment anyway. But it's funny because I think both of them would excel at the way we're playing at the moment, if that makes sense. Whether it's wide or I think particularly with Ashford, he's a bit too slight and he'd probably have to play wide. But I do think the kind of interchanges and the rotations and the way we're passing the ball suits them. That's what they want to do, is get in behind and use their pace.
I think the Plymouth game was calling out for some pace on the subs. I think Tanner looked... to be fair to Tanner, right, he works hard. He's busting a gut up and down that right-hand side for 60 minutes, sorry. He's exhausted after 60 minutes. You can see he's gone. He's run out of steam. Yeah. He works so hard, though. It's understandable. But their defence and their entire left-hand side, was run ragged against Plymouth. And if we brought Ashford on some pace on the play on that side, especially the way Ruben was flicking balls on, making runs, making these passes, we would have torn them apart. We'd have had another 1 or 2, I reckon. We lacked that pace, and in the end, we brought on mate day out there. I bought Willock on number 10. I'd rather see Willock as a wide. I don't quite see Willock as a 10. But I don't think he has the pace to be as effective late on in games on the wing. So it's
a weird one with Willock. I do think he's quite a clever player, but he's almost like he's more suited to the number 10. But you ain't gonna drop Ruben in current form, and I don't know. Maybe when Ruben needs a rest, we might see El Ghazi go in the 10, or maybe Willock. It'd be interesting. Very quick question. Just a quick question to finish, mate, because I've just seen his name in the comments. I haven't read the comment. Would you have Ryan Wintle back in January? Yes or no?
I can't answer this. As a player, I think he would suit this. I think he would suit as a ball-winning midfielder. The fact he was dancing, celebrating when our manager got sacked, that tells me that it was more about him rather than about the club. And I hate that kind of attitude. So, no, I wouldn't take him back for that. But I think he would suit this style of play a bit more.
I wouldn't have him back because I think Siopis and Rawls would do his job better than him.
I think Rinamota does a job. I think Rinamota brings in...
And I would also be very sceptical of the impact that he would have on the squad, because the squad looks happy now. Perry and G looks happy now.
You can't even get the Millwall side. He's on the bench. He's coming on for 5 minutes here, 10 minutes. He can't even break into the Millwall side. And the Millwall side, they're not exactly playing some great football. They're struggling on the bottom themselves. They beat Plymouth in the night 1-0. But they're calling out for someone like Wintle come on, but he can't even get in their side. So I'd maybe think about bringing him back and sending him someone else alone if you can't get a fee. Yeah. Because I'm pretty sure, I think it was last year, someone made an offer, someone approached the club about him. The club panicked, gave him a new contract, 3-year deal, and then all of a sudden the club went, we don't want him. So we were stuck with a player there. I just think it's that. We need to get some money in for these players because there is value there, but they need to play in. So I would.
So important, mate, to not disrupt the dressing room. Like for me, the club comes first, the dressing room comes first, harmony comes first, and last year was a mess, mate. Some of the stuff which I was hearing, and mate, honestly, Jesus Christ, like I was shocked. It takes a lot to shock me.
We were talking the night saying about if Turnbull does need a break, you need to play alongside Robertson just to benefit each other and to make it stand out a bit more. And I was saying I would have loved to see Tommy Doyle next to Robertson. I think that would have been an absolute dream team them to. I just think Man City seem to be producing these midfielders and stuff. We need to look at the academy. Is there any others we can get on loan or on the just to have a sniff about? Because some of the boys we've had from it.
So good. He's going to be a massive player for us as well. And
we can keep him for 3 points. It's £20 million there, that is.
Yeah. He complements like Ruben as well. I think he is him being behind Ruben is a big part of Ruben being able to play as well as he is. And I think that in turn has an impact on Tanner, which has an impact on Robinson. Do you know what I mean? Like there's a knock-on effect to it all. And I just think that's why I'd be very, very careful whether I bring back Wintle or who you bring into the dressing room when you sign players. Like, just because the window's open doesn't mean you have to sign players. It's about getting the right players, not just technically and ability-wise, but also personality-wise. And I thought the club, for all the criticism they get, I thought we had a pretty good summer window. Pretty good. Probably just lacked a striker, really. If you could replace Kanga with a decent number 9, I think the window was pretty good.
I think, for me, the one player we missed out on in the summer was Cody Dreamer. Yeah, I just think you could play him left back. I just think the impact he would have with O'Dowd in front of him or Ghazi in front of him.
Yeah.
He's so good.
That one was weird, mate, as well. Like,
yeah, that was in and out all the time.
Strange that was.
I'm hoping again. It's one of those where right now we've got quite a few number 10s right now. They're all different kind of number 10s, like Rambo, Ruben, Willock. But I think we're okay in that department. I do think we need a striker in January. I'd also like to see another number 8 in the mid come in, maybe a lone player from, like I said, someone like that. So if Turnbull does need a breather or Robertson needs a breather, you've got someone who can come in and just have the same sort of impact. But we don't know who the scouting department is. We don't know who's identifying the players, because for every Robertson we do sign, we also sign a Kanga. For every
do you know what would worry me about signing another number 8, mate, would be like in the summer, I would really like us to have a real good look at Joel Colwell.
That's better.
Because, I think Joel Colwell, and like you don't want to sign someone who's going to block his development into the first team. But
I think if you do play him, then that means I think either CEO or Rinnemoto leaves in January. I think one of them two will leave in January. To see him come in, I think one of them two will have to go.
I gotta say, January because he's on loan, isn't he? So you could wait until the summer to do it.
It's one of those where I think we've all asked now what sort of player Rinnemoto is. None of us know exactly what sort of player he is. He's not really a ball in the midfielder. He's not quite box to box. But when he comes on, he just does the dirty side of the game so well. He closes everything down. He brings a bit of energy, a bit of pace. Just you need that just to see games out. I think he's gone underappreciated, and we haven't even seen him until this season. So like I was saying all summer to sell him, get rid of him. But to be fair, I think I've been impressed by his impact when he has come on. I would have loved to see Sawyers alongside someone like Robertson. I think that would have been two players who could pass a ball, two players who could see things ahead of him. I think we had Sawyers at the wrong end of his career. I think a few years earlier, that would have been, again, deadly. But, I mean, Toydale can't play for Wolves right now. He can't get on his side. Gary O'Neill is a game away from getting sacked. I know they bought him, but I'd be asking Wolves, any chance we get him on loan for 6 months?
Mm-hmm.
There's players out there, I think, as long as our loan players are producing or playing week in, week out, no matter what standard it is, it's for 3 points to keep them playing games. It's better that Joel plays 40 games for Cheltenham than playing 5 sub-appearances for Cardiff this year. So I wouldn't mind seeing a loan player come in January.
Yeah, a loan player I can get on board with. I just wouldn't sign a number 8 permanently, because if you sign someone, that effectively is going to be the end of any chance of him breaking through, really. But then I was just looking, he's played 11 games for Cheltenham this year, scored 3 goals, 2 assists, a couple of yellow cards, and he's predominantly played as a number 8.
Yeah,
so
he's making runs from deep as well. He's finding bits of space here and there. He's linking play up well. To be fair, a few of the goals have come from movements he's started as well. So, like, he might not have got the assist because he didn't make the final pass, but he's starting the broad build-up play for him. So, yeah, I think I like to see a loan player come in January as a number 8 on loan. Just, again, because you can't expect Turnbull and Robertson to do this week in, week out for the full season.
No.
But I would like to see someone come in just to fill that slot, just to give one or two a rest now and again. Because we know December's a wild month. The games come thick and fast in December. It's very exhausting. And straight away into January, you got the FA Cup kicking off. Then there's international breaks. You're going to need some players to come in just to freshen the squad up. So I think a number 9 in January and a number 8 on loan, I'd be happy, I think.
Nice.
I think we can do that.
Rhys,
sorted.
As ever, mate, it's a pleasure to talk to you and a pleasure to chat. I appreciate you joining me for this preview this evening. Hopefully you're back tomorrow night, and you with Matthew for the 1927 pod match reaction, and hopefully you'll be talking all about 3 points for the Bluebirds. But you will discuss it all in detail. The emotional first reaction after the games. No time to let it stew and stuff like that. But and then I'll be back on Sunday for the breakdown, where I give myself 24 hours to rewatch it and digest it a little bit less emotion. But no, it's always a good time, mate. Appreciate you joining me, helping me out.
Welcome.
Because not sure I had a full hour in me to talk on my own this evening. But getting there, mate. So appreciate you. Everyone's watching. Please make sure you're subscribed. That's the main thing. If you want to become a member, just press join. And away we go. Come on, the Bluebirds. Hopefully 3 points tomorrow. But we'll be back tomorrow for the 1927 pod, the match reaction. Make sure you join us. Cheers. He says, and he can't finish it. There we go.